Jazz, tell us how and where people can find jobs in America and other places abroad.
If we get granular, we'll be here all day. So let's just talk about that generally from a high level. I think that should be enough. Obviously, recruitment agencies. I'm kind of biased because I have an agency recruitment background, and when recruitment agencies are good, they can be really, really good. Like many other industries, when they're bad, they can be terrible. But if you isolate and find the best tech recruitment agencies in a certain city, whether it's Toronto or whether it's New York or whether it's Vancouver. Um, you'll know a good one based on the research that you do on LinkedIn as to how many employees they have, the Glassdoor reviews of the company, and so on and so forth. And putting your resume into a good recruitment agency and getting connected with a recruiter there who gives you a good screening, and if that goes well, have you as Aeneas in the hole, if you like, someone whose profile they're happy to send to clients for roles that are a fit for your profile, and so on and so forth. So a good recruitment agency contact and getting in touch with a good recruitment agency and getting screened by them and forming a relationship with a recruiter or recruiters there is really advisable. You could look for job postings online. Obviously, you have the Monsters and Indeeds of this world where it's okay to apply to something if you believe you're a really strong fit, but let me tell you, there's a lot more chance that you put a good resume into Indeed or Monster and you're not going to hear anything back, not because your profile isn't a fit or a match, but just because the sheer volume of people that are applying to those, and perhaps there's only one or two recruiters working in the company who are sort of working on those jobs, and they can only handle a certain amount of candidates and screens at one time. One strategy might be identify the companies that are advertising on these job boards and go directly to their website and apply there. Sometimes those are prioritized, or those reach the top of the pile as opposed to the ones coming in through a third-party channel like an Indeed or a Monster. That's something that I would do as well. Identify the good job boards in each sort of geography that you're looking to apply in. Indeed and Monster are vast and huge job boards, but I wouldn't necessarily call them great ones because of the reason I just mentioned, as well as others. If you're a software engineer, Google best software engineering job boards in New York, do a little bit of research, or in Canada or whatever, you'll get some sort of tech-specific sites, your Stack Overflows and what have you, and probably have more niche roles that are going to be a fit for your niche skills as well. But yeah, I think connecting with a good recruiter in the geography or the location where you want to get a job is really important. Identifying who's hiring in that area and applying via their website directly if possible. And if you get the feeling, if the job poster is mentioned, like a LinkedIn sometimes mention who the job poster is, if you apply and you believe you have a really strong skill set for the role, you can drop that person a note, spend a few bucks on an email if you like. Don't pester them, don't send them an essay, just send them a 1 or 2 lines saying, "Hi there, I understand you might be receiving a lot of applications for the software engineering role that you're advertising. I just want to let you know that I applied and I'm really interested and I think I have a really good skill set. Thank you for your time." Just something like that, to sort of boost your chances even marginally of getting that response. Yeah, those are some sort of good general guidelines with regard to finding a job. But of course, leveraging your network is probably the best way to get a job. Sometimes you don't have the opportunity to do that because you don't have a particular connection in the area or at the company that you want to work at. But if you can find any sort of connection that's going to help you or put you in touch with somebody directly, as opposed to sort of putting your resume or your profile into the ether, then that's always going to be advisable. And as a recruiter, for me, a strong referral or a referral from somebody is always going to be prioritized over someone coming in from one of those other channels, generally speaking. So yeah, if you know somebody who's working at a company, or if you have a good friend or a strong connection in your network who is connected to somebody at company X, and you've seen the job description there, and you know that this person rates your skills, you pop an email to your friend and say, "Hey, I see a Ruby on Rails position at company X in location Y. I see that you're actually connected to a couple of people that work in that company via LinkedIn. is there anybody that you could put a good word in with me for? I've already applied. If they could just sort of take a look at my profile, even these sort of messages and that type of networking is going to augment your job search and your chance of getting responses and getting interviews. And the most important thing of all is to stay resilient. Don't lose faith. It is a difficult market at the moment. Sometimes people don't find anything for months, but as long as you have a strategy and you stick to good practices and you take advantage of the small wins that you get, those responses, those invites for quick calls, by following some of the advice that we've provided in our other conversations in this series with regard to making a good impression with a recruiter, having a good resume, then eventually you will start seeing results. The economy will improve, companies will sort of responding more, or the fact that you're putting together a package and it's being refined through constant practice means that you're ultimately going to be fine.
That's great. I love all those options. So many different ones to consider. Make sure you're not just focusing on one. Try a variety of things.
Totally.
And friends, if you want to learn more about landing great jobs, your dream job abroad, stay tuned. Hey friends, welcome to Chine Coaching. I'm Rob. At Chine Coaching, we're all about helping you succeed and thrive in your cross-cultural journey, especially for those of you who want to work abroad. I get so many questions about, Rob, I'm from this country, but how do I get a job in North America, in the US, in Canada? Well, this is what we're going to be talking about. We've got the perfect guest today to help you understand that even better. Jaz, welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you, Rob. My name is Jaz Guram. I am a tech recruiter with 10 plus years of experience, located just outside Toronto, Canada. I'm originally from Ireland. I am 100% Punjabi, second generation, born in Ireland. My parents were born and raised in India. I do have international experience as well, having lived and worked in Japan for 6 years as a cross-cultural consultant, much like yourself, Rob, with companies and individuals there in that capacity too. Before coming here, I met my future wife in Japan, who's Canadian. That's why I'm here. I'm currently lead tech recruiter with a company called Syndesus, which is a PEO organization that helps companies and potential employees find work and solutions to HR problems.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. We've talked a little bit just about process and where people can even start looking and find these kind of jobs abroad. Now let's even get more specific. What would you say are some of the best industries with great job scope in America, in Canada, that people should consider?
I think that the technology industry, before we get too granular, if you're in the tech industry, it's a good industry to be in, even when we are facing a little bit of flux in the job market and the economy that's causing these layoffs or reductions in force and what have you. The projections across the board for the amount of tech jobs and the growth in the tech job market between now and the next 5 years, it's an upward curve with a couple of little dips here and there. And right now we're just in a little dip. So if you're in the tech industry, generally, it's a pretty good industry to be in. Tech isn't going anywhere. In fact, it's evolving. It's the new industrial revolution, et cetera, et cetera. And while we've had many layoffs in the industry in North America, particularly over the past 18 months or so, most of those companies who have had reductions in force, they today still have more employees than they did pre-pandemic. So they still are growing, right? It's like those dips that I talked about. So yeah, tech is a good bet overall. But if we want to get a little bit granular with the industries in tech that are perhaps hiring consistently or having less of these reductions in force that we're seeing at the moment, cybersecurity is huge. That's not going anywhere. In fact, most cybersecurity jobs are there are more and more cybersecurity jobs coming on the market, as far as I can tell, and they haven't slowed down in the last year and a half, really. Healthcare tech in general is also huge. Most companies in that regard are growing as well, particularly in the US, where healthcare is a huge business. There isn't a public healthcare per se like we have in Canada here. And even healthcare startups and scale-ups are generally growing in my experience. I have a number of clients in that vertical myself as well. And government jobs as well, in tech. They're perhaps not the most sexy or ideal for a lot of people, but they are consistent and they pay generally quite well. And those jobs are, that industry is also, well, I wouldn't say booming, they're consistently hiring. And and those industries that I just mentioned, those verticals tend to display more recession resilience than most. Um,
Hmm.
but generally speaking, if you're talking about job titles, if you're any kind of software engineer, if you're a data wrangler, a data engineer, a data scientist, a machine learner, an AI engineer, or if you're in cybersecurity, you're probably good.
Yeah, I love it. I think you nailed the right ones. And friends, if you didn't know, on our YouTube channel, China Coaching, we actually have videos covering each of these where I interview people who are in cybersecurity, data science, machine learning, AI, people who are in these big tech companies you want to work for. So go watch those videos and see what is they do, what kind of skills you need, and see if those are the industries that you're being drawn to. Now, an interesting question, Jazz. I think a lot of people have America as their dream, but our immigration system is complicated. It's old and antiquated, and visas can be a struggle. So I want to ask you your thoughts on maybe why and how could someone move their job to Canada from the US, and what kind of opportunities are there?
Great question, Robin. This is something that I'm definitely familiar with.
Mhm.
My bread and butter is helping people move to Canada from the US, tech workers specifically. It's not my entire
Mhm.
job, but it's certainly a large part of it. And I've had many conversations, many conversations with tech professionals who are in the US, mostly Indian, some Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, other nationalities too, but a lot of
Mhm.
Indians for sure. Somebody might want to move to Canada from the US because they have paid out for 2 master's degrees to get that H-1B lottery, and they do get it finally after having huge professional and personal outlay while studying and working full time, and sort of navigating the very complex, like you mentioned, U.S. immigration system,
Mhm.
only to be told once they get that H-1B, like, oh, you're Indian, you're not going to get a green card, probably for at least 20 years. I've had somebody come and tell me they were told 75 plus years. I don't know how
Yeah,
that was calculated. How
the
demoralizing
backlog's
is that?
crazy.
It's unbelievable. It really
Yeah.
is. And it's very easy to feel like an unwanted cog in a very large machine. And people want
Mhm.
stability. They want their kids. If you start having a family, if you've moved to the US, your kids are US citizens but you're not. I've had some horror stories about people who have recently. I had a candidate who inadvertently did a little bit of QA work for his previous employer after he got a H-1B transfer. And the company that he'd worked with, this is somebody who'd been in the US for 13 years. His kids were born in the US, schooled there, they're citizens. He was working for
Mhm.
company X for, I think, quite a while. He left there, got an H-1B transfer, changed jobs. He was like family at his old company. They said, would you mind doing a little bit of QA for us on the last bit of work that you did? He thought it was pro bono. He thought he was doing them a favor. He said, sure, of course. So he did that, but they paid him for it. It was flagged, you're working for this company, but you're only legally allowed to work for that
Mm.
company. Kicked him out of the country. He's now trying to get his way back to Canada so his family can be reunited in North America. So there are those kind of extreme cases. There are people who want, a more just a slightly different society while maintaining the benefits of North America, which Canada has, I think, with regard to perhaps things like gun crime, safety, public health care access, things like that.
Mhm.
Stability is a huge one. People want somewhere
Yeah.
that they feel confident. If I am on an immigration pathway here, I'm on a work permit, then I'll become a permanent resident, then I'll become a citizen. In Canada, that is a very
And
realistic
way
dream,
faster.
and way faster. I mean, you can become a citizen in Canada within 4 years, 5 years. If things go your way, you can get your PR within a year or 2 years, quite
Mhm.
easily. I've had people come in with not perhaps the most points, these immigration points that you need to sort of be pulled in for automatic PR through a system such as Express Entry. I've had people who have had hardly any points because they're a little bit too old or whatever, come to Canada. And within 2 years, those guys who are perhaps guys and gals who are perhaps a little bit more senior in age, with families, they're shocked when they email me a year and a half later going, I just got my PR. I've only been here for a year and a half. So, the Canadian dream is definitely real, and it is a good it is certainly a great option for people who wish to stay in North America, but have to leave the US for whatever reason. There is
Hmm.
what I like to call the Canadian salary haircut, where you do have to accept that for the exact same job in the US, in Canada, you're going to get paid slightly less for that, like 20-30%. Like I said, it is offset by things like safety, public health care, and what have you.
Hmm.
But your lifestyle and your standard of living isn't going to be much, if different at all, than what you had in the US. So yeah, it's a small price to pay for many people who just want
Yeah.
to leverage the Canadian experience for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's a very interesting comparison to consider. My friends, if you're liking this video, getting some value, hit that like button to say cheers and thanks to Jaz. Our chai question to you guys who are watching is, what kind of jobs are you looking for? We talked about job industries, job roles, job scopes. Let us know, what kind of job roles, what kind of companies are you guys looking to get into? What are you striving for? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear about that. Now, Jaz, let's talk about the global talent stream. What does that mean? What's it mean to be a part of that? And how does the global talent stream benefit both the employees and the employers?
So Global Talent Stream was introduced by IRCC, the Canadian Immigration and Citizenship Department, I think around 10 years ago. I don't know exactly. And its main aim was to expedite the movement of senior tech workers from outside Canada into Canada on a work permit specifically designed for them. That was called Global Talent Stream. The criteria that somebody has to meet, and it was designed, to get people from most countries, from application to being in Canada within 4 weeks. It was introduced to be an expedited way to do that via not having to meet so many stringent criteria. If you're applying for express entry, which is the PR stream to come directly into Canada as a permanent resident, you have to send your degree off to get assessed for level as well as relevancy to the Canadian education system. You have to do an English test, no matter where in the world you're from, even if it's a native English-speaking country. The higher you score, the more points you get. The higher the degree, the more points you get. The younger you are, the more points you get for the express entry system. So you have to do, and there's a couple of other things as well. There's a lot of qualifying that has to be done to get into that stream. And even at the end of that, you might not have enough points to be one of these people who qualifies above the threshold when there's a points draw to invite people in. But the Global Talent Stream, you only have to meet 3 simple criteria. The first is you have to demonstrate that you have experience and or education in the field. GTS does focus on tech jobs and job titles. I believe they have added some medical and engineering job titles in the last year or so, but it was created to bring senior tech workers in to bridge this huge deficit we have in senior tech workers. So yeah, you have to demonstrate that. So if you can get a reference and sort of show that you have education or experience in the field, check. The second one is you have to have a Canadian employer willing to sponsor your work permit upon making a job offer. To do that, the Canadian company has to apply for a document called an LMIA, a labor market impact assessment. That basically means it's a quick audit of your company's finances to make sure it's not a people fraud, to make sure that you can pay and support the foreign worker that you want to hire and sponsor. That usually only takes 2 weeks to get that document, give or take, and that can happen at the same time as your work permit background check happens. So even if the company doesn't have that document yet, you don't lose any time in the process. And the third criteria you have to meet is you have to be at a certain salary level. Like I mentioned, it's targeting senior tech workers. It doesn't want to take away the opportunity for Canadian graduates and more junior tech workers to get valuable experience. So I think the threshold is usually around $90,000 Canadian for your base salary. If you're somebody with 4 or 5 plus years of experience working in tech in Canada, you'll be at or above that threshold quite easily. So that's 1, 2, 3 criteria you have to meet for Global Talent Stream as a candidate, and so those are pretty clear and pretty easy. Unlike the H-1B, which is the sort of equivalent in the US, I call the H-1B kind of like a gilded cage, in that you get paid a lot, you get a job in America, but will your partner or spouse get a work permit or a chance to earn? No. in Canada on the Global Talent Stream, your partner or spouse gets an open work permit for anywhere. You'll be working for whoever's sponsoring you on your work permit, with not much flex, but your partner or spouse, they can be a brain surgeon or a school janitor or whatever they want, which is wonderful. So that's another reason.
Flexibility.
Yeah, that's another reason. Actually, if we go back to our previous question, why move your job to Canada from the US? Some people, they come here and their spouse is also a software engineer, but we can't work because you're the one that's sponsored. People come to Canada so that both both parties in the couple can actually earn and sort of have careers as well. So sort of getting back to the Global Talent Stream now as well. You have more freedom of movement, very important for South Asians. Being Punjabi myself, it's very important to be able to have your parents come visit you. Indian families love really long visits. I don't know why. I remember as a kid going to India, having to take 2 months off school. You spent 2 months at home. Parents like coming. Look, my neighbors, I've got Indian neighbors on either side of me here in Toronto, actually. So they're in tech as well, but my neighbors next door in Upin Sneha, their parents have been visiting from India for the last couple of months. I think they're going to stay for another few weeks. I don't think that's something that you have a lot of flexibility with on an H-1B either. These are things that are benefits to the employee. If you're the employer, what do you get from a Global Talent Stream candidate is a unique stream of talent. Very often our clients come to us and say, our senior candidates are being poached by the Wealthsimples, the Shopifys, the Amazons, as soon as, they get their feet under the desk and they start doing good work. As soon as we know it, they're gone. If you hire somebody in a Global Talent Stream to come in and you sponsor them, they pass all your technical requirements, they're a good employee, you're sponsoring them. While they can apply for a transfer and move to another Global Talent Stream work permit with another company, it's a lot less likely, and people generally tend to stay with their Global Talent Stream sponsor for the 2 years which is the average time it takes to get PR, until they get their permanent residency, in which case you have freedom of movement, much like a citizen. So there's a stickiness factor for senior tech talent, which is huge for some Canadian companies. If you lose your job on a Global Talent Stream work permit, you don't have a really short window to find a new sponsor in a job, or you get kicked out, which is the case, I think, in the US with the H-1B. You have 60 days to find a new sponsor for your work permit and to do that transfer. In Canada, if you get laid off year one into a 2-year work permit, you're allowed to stay for that second year and find yourself another sponsor, and without having so much of a time crunch, which can be devastating, if you lose a job and you only have 60 days to find a new one. I don't know this.
That's so quick.
The data behind it, but I'm sure there are a lot of people who have had their dreams dashed and have had to leave. So that
sad.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are some of the things that the Global Talent Stream does provide. I think it's a really great work permit. We've placed many people at Syndesus and Path to Canada using Global Talent Stream, and it's generally really smooth and quite easy to administer. And part of our job is educating Canadian companies when we get meetings with them to talk about recruitment, how easy it is to sort of sponsor and hire a foreign worker, because there is this sort of predetermined incorrect notion that it's just nothing but hassle. At Syndesus and Path to Canada, we make it very easy by providing immigration support for people, for companies rather, to sort of navigate through that process, and we take all the sort of admin off their hands.
So, Jaz, seems like really unique, cool things with the Global Talent Stream. Obviously, people do face challenges, bumps, surprises. There might be people that want to pivot. So, how does the process work, and how can Syndesus help people to pivot to Canada, to work remotely, to be a part of that Global Talent Stream? What do people need to know?
Great. So as a candidate, if you wish to avail of what Syndesus can do for you, then you can visit our website or our sister website, pathtocanada.ca. We do have a jobs page there with our open tech jobs. That's starting to get a little bit lively again after the last year or so of drudgery in the tech job market. You don't even have to apply directly for a job to get into our system and be screened by us, to be screened by me. If you go to our website, path2canada.ca, There is a option there to put your profile forward. You upload your resume, answer a few questions for us. You then enter our sort of workflow. You are then screened 2 times by our recruitment team. The first call is just really to understand your situation, to make sure you're aware this is a immigrant to Canada scenario, to get some logistical information from you and make sure you're a viable candidate for us, as well as to provide you in that first call with all the gaps in your knowledge around the work permit, the immigration process, what the global talent stream is, and so on and so forth. Once we complete that call and we're agreed that we want to proceed, the second call is a tech screen where you lay out your career and your experience. We take a bunch of notes, we get you in our system, we apply the appropriate keywords and tags, and as and when opportunities come along from our clients, either our US client base or our Canadian client base, matching your skill set, then you'll be activated and the recruitment process will start automatically. That's something that we do at Path to Canada for our global candidates coming from the US or anywhere in the world. As an employer, you can certainly contact Syndesus if you wish to avail of a unique stream of global talent that the majority of your competitors in the space for that talent are seeing. You'll be pretty much one of very few companies that have access to these specific candidates and this pool of talent, which is certainly a huge advantage in this current market where I explained the Shopify's, Amazon's, Wealth Simples of this world are poaching the senior talent left and right. We also make sure that all the immigration piece, the provision of the immigration lawyer, the LMIA application, the candidate's work permit application, all that process is completely covered with our recruitment contract. And the best thing is we don't charge any more per placement than the majority of recruitment firms who don't have that extra sort of string to their bow. So yeah, it's definitely worth candidates getting into our system via pathtocanada.ca or employers getting in touch with us via our Syndesus website if they wish to avail of that kind of stream of unique talent that is double vetted by very experienced tech recruiters such as myself.
That's fantastic. Thanks for breaking that down, Jaz. We'll have links for you guys as well above and below to connect, see what you qualify for, see what the next steps in the process, get on one of those kind of discovery calls. Jaz and I have also recorded some other great videos, especially one about job interviews. Once you get in this process, eventually you're going to need to nail that job interview, how to prepare it. So check out this other video we made on how to really ace those job interviews, what recruiters are looking for. That's going to be a great one. Check out the link for that as well. Jaz, thanks for breaking this down. We have so many people trying to find jobs from abroad to come to North America, and I know that you just helped a lot of people. So thanks for sharing your experience.
Thanks for giving me the platform, Rob. I really enjoyed it. And if anybody has any questions who are watching or listening to this, they can drop those questions onto your YouTube channel, and I'll certainly take a look at those and answer whatever ones that I can as well. And people are free to ping me on LinkedIn and connect with me there. You can find me very easily. My name is Jaz Guram, Guram is my last name. I think I'm the only Jaz Guram in all of LinkedIn. And you'll see my big bearded bald head in my profile picture as well. So feel free to connect with me and drop me a note as well. Let me know you heard.
Yeah, we'll share those. Connect with us on LinkedIn, social media, Instagram for great tips and resources. We've got a great Chai Coaching email newsletter as well. Friends, we love having you be part of our community. We want to see you guys thrive, succeed, get those dream jobs. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time. Cheers, everybody.